This man had 2.3 million pesos in his bank account just 6 months ago. Now he sleeps on the street with a broken laptop as his only companion. His name is Carlos, and his story is about to forever change the way you see investing. How can someone lose everything from a single decision? At the end of this video, I'll reveal the 3 deadly mistakes that led him to ruin, and the secret that finally saved him. Stay until the end, because I'm going to reveal the golden rule that Carlos discovered too late. A rule so powerful it could have saved him from 6 months of hell. And believe me, once you hear it, you'll never see investing the same way again. This is the story of how 3 simple mistakes can destroy an entire life, but also of how a single principle can rebuild it. A true story that will not only move you, but may also open your eyes before you make a financial decision you could regret for years. Every decision Carlos made brought him closer to the edge, but he wasn't aware of it. Let's follow his story step by step, because every mistake he made is a mistake you might be making right now, without even realizing it. It all started in January 2023. Carlos, a 32-year-old systems engineer, had a stable job in Bogotá, owned a house valued at 180 million pesos, and had 2.3 million in savings. He was the type of person who always played it safe. He showed up on time, paid his bills, and didn't take unnecessary risks. But Carlos had a dream: financial freedom. He wanted to stop working for others and become a professional investor. He had been watching Bitcoin rise from 16,000 pesos to 42,000 pesos in just 3 months, and he thought, this is my chance. Imagine, he had everything anyone could want: a beautiful house in a quiet neighborhood in Bogotá, 2 small children, a wife who loved him, and a job that allowed him to save 800,000 pesos every month. From the outside, his life was an example of stability and progress. But Carlos was obsessed with one idea: the rich don't work for money, they make money work for them. He had read that line in a book by Kiyosaki and couldn't get it out of his head. He dreamed of waking up one day and watching his bank account grow without having to sit in front of a computer for 8 hours a day. What Carlos didn't know was that he was about to make his first deadly mistake. In February 2023, Carlos made the most drastic decision of his life. He sold his house, his entire house, 180 million pesos, straight into cryptocurrencies. No backup plan, no professional advice, not even thorough research into the risks. His wife Maria begged him not to do it. Carlos, this is madness, she said, crying. Think of the kids, our future. But he was convinced that in 6 months they would be millionaires. Convinced not by logic but by emotion and the desire for a life without financial worries. Look, love, he told her, showing her the charts. If Bitcoin hits 100,000 pesos like the experts predict, we'll make 600 million. We'll buy a bigger house, travel, give the kids the best education. He invested 70% in Bitcoin, 20% in Ethereum, and 10% in promising altcoins he had seen on TikTok. In the first month, he made 340,000 pesos. He felt like a genius, like he had finally cracked the money code. See, I told you it would work, he shouted to Maria as he showed her the profits. But she didn't celebrate. Something inside her told her this wouldn't end well. Quick and effortless gains rarely have a good ending. But don't get ahead. In March, the market crashed. Carlos lost 60 million in a week. But here comes the second deadly mistake. Instead of cutting his losses, he doubled down, like a casino gambler who can't accept defeat. It's just a temporary correction, he repeated, obsessively. Markets always recover. He took out a 50 million peso loan against his salary. Maria looked at him with a mix of horror and despair. Her fear was no longer about the money, but about the person Carlos was becoming. Fights became constant. Carlos, please, sell everything and recover what we can, Maria pleaded. But he was in total denial. He denied reality, sought refuge in investment forums full of empty promises, and rejected any advice that didn't support his illusion. Every night, Carlos stayed up until 3 in the morning watching charts, reading predictions, desperately looking for a sign that the market would recover. He became addicted to financial news, not to learn, but to justify his decisions. And just when he thought he had hit rock bottom, in May, a chain liquidation wiped everything out. Carlos lost 180 million in 48 hours. Everything: his house, his savings, his loan, all evaporated. The market had no mercy, and Carlos had no shield against reality. I remember he told me that day, when he saw the numbers in red, he was paralyzed in front of the screen for 4 hours. He couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't even cry. It was like his soul had disconnected from his body. That night, Maria took the kids and went to her mother's house. I can't take this anymore. Carlos, you destroyed our family. Over an obsession were her last words before closing the door. It wasn't just a financial loss, it was total collapse. 3 days later, Carlos was evicted. No home, no family, no money. With a half-broken laptop and a bank account in the red, he had no one to turn to. He had lost everyone's trust, even his own. Asterisk, the next 4 months were hell. Carlos slept in parks, transportation stations, on the street he went hungry, was cold, and scared. But here's what will surprise you. He never stopped studying finance. Asterisk every day. He went to the public library and studied books by Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, Benjamin Graham. Something had changed in him. He no longer sought to get rich quick. Now he wanted to understand why he had failed. He sought redemption. Asterisk, it was there, in the library, that Carlos discovered the golden rule I'll reveal at the end. A rule so simple it changed his entire perspective on money. It was no longer about profits, but about principles. Asterisk, he read more than 30 finance books in 4 months. He studied the mistakes of other investors, analyzed historical financial crises, and little by little began to understand that he had confused investing with speculation, that he had acted on impulse, not strategy. Asterisk, in September, a former colleague offered him freelance work. Carlos accepted, but now he was different. He applied the golden rule and in 3 months achieved something incredible. Asterisk, first, he contacted Maria. Letters, I'm not asking you to come back, he said. I just want you to know that I understood my mistakes and I'm going to recover what we lost, but this time the right way. Asterisk, he moved into a modest apartment, and most importantly, he started investing again, but this time in a completely different way, with caution, with education, with emotional control. What comes next will surprise you. In just 4 months, Carlos not only regained his emotional stability, but also built an investment portfolio that generates $2.8 million per month consistently, thanks to a diversified and sustained strategy. Asterisk, but the most incredible part was when Maria agreed to see him again. Carlos, I see something different in you, she said. You no longer have that desperate look, now you radiate peace. Asterisk, how is this possible? The answer lies in the 3 mistakes he made, and the golden rule that saved him. Asterisk, mistake 1. He bet everything on a single strategy. Carlos put 100% of his wealth into crypto. Never invest more than 10% of your wealth in high-risk assets. Diversification isn't optional, it's survival. Asterisk, mistake 2. He invested money he couldn't afford to lose. Carlos sold his family home. The basic rule he learned the hard way: only invest money you can forget for 5 years, without affecting your quality of life. Asterisk, mistake 3. He let emotions control his decisions. Fear when losing and greed when winning were his real enemies. An investment plan without emotional discipline is a recipe for disaster. Asterisk, but the golden rule that changed everything was this: invest in your financial education before any asset. Carlos spent 6 months studying every concept, every strategy, every historical mistake before touching a single peso again. Asterisk, he learned about fundamental analysis, risk management, investor psychology, and something crucial, the difference between investing and speculating. He was no longer a gambler. He had become an educated investor. Asterisk, today, Carlos has a diversified portfolio: 40% fixed income, 30% stocks, 20% real estate, and yes, 10% crypto. But now he knows exactly what he's doing and why he's doing it. Asterisk, 3 months ago, Maria and the kids came back home. Not because of the money, Carlos told me, but because she finally felt safe with me again. She got back the man she fell in love with. Asterisk, Carlos's story teaches us that no matter how low you fall, there's always a chance to rise. If you learn the right lessons. Asterisk, have you made any of these mistakes? Or do you know someone following Carlos's footsteps toward the edge? Tell me in the comments. Because your story might save someone else. Asterisk, if this story moved you as much as it moved me, leave a like so YouTube shows it to more people who need to hear it. And subscribe if you want more real stories that teach you about finance in a way you'll never forget. Asterisk, what was your biggest financial mistake? Asterisk, Carlos asked me to tell you something. Financial education is not a luxury, it's a survival necessity in today's world. Asterisk, I'll read you in the comments. See you in the next video.